actinium, or leadership phenomena like being humble and yet being self-affirming. So short-term and long-term, centralized, decentralized, there are all sorts of polarities that are going on. And we're going to be focusing on some of those today. And our intent is to give you a chance to play with this a little bit and to look at your own practice in terms of what are some of the energy systems that you are in within your practice, and what might be the trap within that energy system. And we're going to show you examples of that. So, for example, and the trap always within a polarity energy system, this infinity loop. The trap is seeing one side of the issue as a problem, and the upside of the other pole as the solution, as if that were the whole picture. So we have this natural self-corrective energy that's moving through systems, and we find ourselves in a process of moving from the downside of one to the upside of the other, as if that were a solution. That's the trap. So for example, in our own system, our mission at Polarity Partnerships is to join you in leveraging polarities in order to move towards your preferred future faster and more sustainably, in order to enhance the quality of life on the planet. So this mission about leveraging polarities is about both and thinking. We're about supplementing either or thinking and basic problem solving with both and thinking and leveraging polarities, these two. Now it's easy for us to get caught not seeing that as a polarity, not appreciating the full energy system, and we might come up with language that look like this. The problem in our culture is the tyranny of the or. If you haven't heard this before. And the solution is to go after the genius of the and. Now, since we're all excited about supplementing either or thinking with both and thinking, we could get caught in this trap as an organization. What's missing in this polarity is seeing the rest of this energy system. We need to be aware of that in order to keep from getting caught in the trap and in order to leverage it well. So, if it is a polarity, the or and the and, then it begs the question, what we end up doing is if we overfocus on and to the neglect of or, we get in trouble. This is true of all polarities. Both poles need each other, and if you overfocus on one to the neglect of the other, you get in trouble. First you get the downside of the pole you overfocus on, then you get the downside of the other. That's just how they work. So the trap would be to overfocus on and for us and to neglect the either or and basic problem solving. Right? So if we want to leverage both, and this is what this picture is, a well-leveraged polarity, we want to maximize both upsides and minimize both downsides, we need to be aware of what both upsides and downsides are. So it begs the question, well, what would be the upside of the or pole? And to make it simple, it would be the genius of the or. And if you overfocus on the genius of the and to the neglect of or, you end up with the tyranny of and. So you have to eat your own dog food with this stuff, right? So if you understand how these energy systems work, then you have to own up to the fact that it isn't all about both and thinking. It's actually about leveraging this polarity. We need to be mindful of that ourselves. So this energy system, I'd like to just share one other energy system that's very powerful. Oh, another thing about this, I'm sorry, when we can maximize both upsides, in this case, the genius of the or and the genius of the and, we can create a virtuous circle that will lift our system or our organization to reach our mission, which is to enhance the quality of life on the planet. But if we get an either or proposition about this, it can become a vicious circle leading to a deeper fear, which in this case would be unnecessary suffering. So in each case, if you can see the polarity, you can intentionally leverage it and lift your system or your personal life towards whatever that greater purpose is that you would define. So what I would like to do is just acknowledge, in terms of looking historically at this rich field that all of us are in and a part of OD, if we pay attention to the past and present, and then the present future. So we're in the present always, we're either looking backwards and in the present and past, or we're looking present and the future. But if we look at those two poles, and pay attention to them, and look at some of the historical contributions that have been made, we can see them as a segment of this ongoing energy system. So for example, early on, we would identify problems and create solutions. Problem solving, very basic problem solving, essential for organizations. How do we do that? Then the thought was, and it shows up, for example, in quality movement, Six Sigma, solving problems, very good stuff. Then we ended up looking at the notion that it would be helpful not just to try to solve existing problems, but to look at what in the future might be attractive to us and go towards it, which might be different than solving present problems. It's like, what would that preferred future look like that might attract us into our future? So future search, great contribution for the upside of that goal. Then we ask the question, how might we identify the best of the past and the present? So the upside of the past-present goal. And so appreciative inquiry gave us a wonderful set of lenses and a way to appreciate the best of the past and present. And the one other place would be if you look at the past, the present, future to the neglect of the past, you can identify what we call hidden fears or shadow work. It's what often gets in the way of us pursuing our idealized future. It's the fear of the downside of the goal we're pursuing. And the trap is to imply there's no downside to where we're going. In this case, shadow work, John Shearer has done a lot of great work with that. We pay attention to that as a part of the Polarity partnership process as well. So that whole energy system is at play. What I'd like you to do this afternoon is I'd like you to be thinking about when you look at your passion, either your personal passion or your organizational passion or mission, or your discipline passion, appreciative inquiry, future search is a couple of examples we've already identified. But whatever that is, to pay attention to how that might be a part of an ongoing energy system, and to see where you're headed with your passion. To what degree does that need to be seen as a part of an ongoing energy system so that you can leverage that system to support the important work you're doing? The trap would be, if you are in one of these energy systems, the trap would be to see your segment, where you're going from and where you're going to, as the whole picture. So Jake's going to give you an example of that from his organizational work.